everyone, my name's Mischka. I work for Ven Innovation and we support tech and tech-enabled entrepreneurs, companies and startups. And I'm here with Matt. Matt White.
Yes.
Of Sussex Beard Oils.
Hey, how are you?
Very good, you?
It's good to be here in the beard room.
Oh, yeah.
The secret location of the beard room.
I know.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah, I know. It's no longer a secret.
So you run Sussex Beard Oil Merchants.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Do you want to maybe talk to us a little bit about it?
Back in 2012, I started a company, not knowing it was going to be a company. It started with an idea about making one product to help with an issue that I had with facial hair and wanting to grow the beard of my dreams. I think every guy has thought of that has facial hair.
I think some women too.
Yeah, and some women accomplish it.
Yeah.
But anyway, they say, the rest is history.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have seen on CBC that you were on Dragon's Den.
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, that very surreal, very... sometimes when I look back at it, it's like, did it really happen? Did it... and once in a while when somebody will email me, said, I just saw your episode, or we'll be going through Netflix and I'm on Netflix. So that's when it becomes real.
Yeah.
You know, it's like up to that point, it becomes like, because it was so quick, it was like, you know, you go up there, you go through it, you do it. And honestly, when I saw it on television, it was nothing like what I felt I went through.
Because you had all the emotions.
Yeah,
the
you're in the moment, and I mean, even before you go up to present, you're on this set of metal stairs in the back, and I was there with the guy that I met like 40 minutes before we went on, Jesse. And so him and I are standing there, and they've got a camera in your face and a microphone there, and they're, you know, instead of saying, "Hey, it's going to be great," they go, "So are you nervous? Are you like, are you really ready to just run?" You know, like they're trying to get some
reaction.
Well, especially out of me, because I was like dropping down into that zone where I was trying to be focused. I was like freaking out, like I was like. I was shaking so bad, because the reality of this was, you know, the closer I got to it, the reality was getting more there. And so it's like, I was like focused. I was like in my head going through everything. And so they were like jabbing me and trying to get me moving and breathing. Yeah. Like they didn't even think I had a heartbeat. So it's like when you get on that last step down, that's when the reality of it hit for me, and where I couldn't even talk. Yeah. Like I had a big lump in my throat. So. Did
you plan to like get the dragons like to massage the oil and everything into your friend's hair?
Yeah. Well, that was part of the fortunate part is looking back. I was really fortunate that I got paired with a good producer. They were young. They were innovative. They were thoughtful. You know, I told them about my product, told them about my passion. And so we were back and forth over a couple of months kind of talking about how it would look, what should we do. We'd even talked about a celebrity joining me there.
Oh. Who would have it been?
Well, back then, one of the CBC bearded people would have been Red Green.
Okay.
Because we had thought about that. And then there was thought, well, it might have upstaged what the whole process was. So they said, yeah, it would be great to have somebody to demonstrate the use of it. And so that's pretty well what we started with. And then I had a friend reach out to, he's a blogger, so we reached out online to everybody and said, is there anybody in the Toronto area that would volunteer to help my friend? You know, and at that time I wasn't known. Nobody really knew I existed. And, I mean, you got to realize the year before that, I think I had sold maybe $5,000 worth of product in 1 year. So we were new. We were fresh. Yeah. And so this guy volunteered, and I talked to him over the phone, and he later told me that The reason why he accepted it and said yes is because I stole a line from a movie. I forget what it was. I think it was the Green Lantern or something like that, or some obscure movie that the guy said something about joining him on an adventure.
Yeah.
Will you hold my hand? I left the holding hand part out, and I said, would you? He answered the phone. I said, he really didn't know what he was being asked to do, but I said, Jesse, would you like to join me on an adventure? And knowing him now, I understand why he said, as soon as you said that, it didn't matter what you were going to ask me.
He was in.
I was in.
Yeah.
So, and then, like I said, we met 40 minutes before we went taping, and that was, in that process, which was great because Jesse grows a great beard. He's a seasonal beard grower. At the time, he was the event coordinator for Movember Canada, and he had never used beard oil in his entire life. So on television, in front of all those people, he was using it for the very first time. Yeah. And Michelle and got to put it in his beard. And she got right in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Michelle was perfect for this. I've talked to Michelle since then, and she was like the perfect person to do this. Yeah. And you got to realize they were about the same height. Yeah. So there was eye contact through this whole process.
So it was like intimate.
You realize, like for what was it, 5 minutes of television? Yeah. There was 45 minutes of taping.
Oh my God.
So there was moments that nobody got to see. Yeah. Right?
Except for you.
Yeah. And I'm ready to call CBC and beg them for all the tape because it was hilarious. Yeah. Some of the moments between him and Michelle, like, wow. And Michael was up there on the stage saying, "Ooh, we have a whole new show going on here." So it was very, very neat. So I think for me, having the interaction, the favor of the dragons, the whole process, the camera crew, the anybody that was on the staff there, they all made my process so much better. Yeah, it's like I felt like they were there on my side. Yeah, like I never felt ganged up on, or even the rejections from the dragons were so supportive.
Yeah, it sounded really nice. Like they were saying, "Oh, my dad was a barber, and he told me to never go into
which is funny because that was the reason I thought Jim would be like on board. Yeah, because I had found out like about a week before that his dad was a barber, and I went, "Oh, he'll so get it." But then when he said, "Oh, my dad said don't do this," and I said, "Well," and I'm standing there because I was prepared ahead of time that you got to realize you're going before people who are known for being good at what they do. Yeah. Right? So it's like when you watch these, America's Got Talent, Think You Can Dance, and all these things, where these people audition in front of people in the industry that have proven themselves.
For years.
Years. So why would you go and then they say, "No, I don't think you're the right thing," or "I don't think that was good," and say, "Well, you don't know what you're talking about." Like, why would somebody do that? Yeah. Like, that doesn't make sense. So I had to mentally prepare myself that even the rejection, I was going to not be offended by it because I'm there in front of guys and gals that I needed help from. Yes. Right? And
even the rejection would be advice.
Yes. Like, and for me, I was fortunate that, again, you didn't see a lot of what happened. There was like 45 minutes of taping. I got so much out of it, so much encouragement. Joe was like, he said to me, "Matt, this was a great presentation. You hit all the boxes. You were a great guy. I can see that you really believe in your product. But this is not my thing. This, so like there was nothing for me to argue about." Yeah. And Joe looked at me with these eyes that were so kind that I thought, man, I want to have coffee with this guy. Like this guy just said no to me, and I loved it. Like who does that? So that's kind of what happened. Yeah.
Cool. So how did you actually prepare for going on the Dragon's Den? You said a little bit about your mental prep.
Right. Well, following the advice of my father, who passed away about 11, 12 years ago. My dad was not one to give me a lot of advice, life advice.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember he, and again, I'm not sure if this was a good for you or, oh, sorry for you kind of advice.
Okay.
But he said, Matt, if I was you, I'd surround myself with intelligent people.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm not sure what that really meant, but that was his advice to.
Okay.
So when I was looking into this, I thought, who can I draw from? Who can I pull from that's going to give me that insight that maybe I lack in this area? And fortunately, I had a friend that already kind of stepped forward, who in my mind could be a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And he stepped forward and said, look, he said, I watched the show. I know how it works. Let me help you. Let me give you some pointers. And so what he did is he actually came to my home, and like until 1 o'clock in the morning before I left,
Mm-hmm.
he was like drilling me. You know, we put our pitch together. He made sure I had the numbers. I had an accounting firm in St. John, Adams Green, and Owen Green that just like he helped me understand the numbers.
Yeah.
So that was to me one of the biggest things.
Yeah, because you had to be able to be like, this is.
Well, yeah, you
going
have
on.
to, and that's where a lot of the pitches fall. Is like you can't just drive on enthusiasm, charisma, product knowledge. Those are parts of it. And so having those people around me kind of gave me a better edge than I think I would have had without that. So having that pitching coaching kind of thing, helping me see the blind spots, and really because honestly, my plan was no plan. That was my plan. My plan was to just go and wing it, because I really wasn't sure if I was taking this seriously or not. But as I got the help around me and was willing to listen and have them give me that input, I realized the value in that.
Yes.
Like it just like, and again, when nerves set in, I still was like freaking out and falling apart. And I was up 4 o'clock that morning because we were taping. I think I had to be there at 6:45 or something like that. But I was awake at 4 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks to my wife. For some reason, she thought that was a great idea. Thank you, Chrissy. Get me up at 4 o'clock. And anyway, so I was like dazed. And so I was in a hotel room, 4:30 in the morning, pacing back and forth, which my friend Marcel, some people may know Marcel Lebrun, he was my pitching coach.
Yeah.
And so he had said to me, Matt, go over it in your head over and over, get it instilled there, get it all natural so that whatever's thrown at you, it's your to-go place. It's there. And so I'm very glad that I had those components in place. So again, drawing from people that knew more about it than I did was so valuable, because I felt, even though the nerves were there and all the when it all started, the lump in the throat, couldn't even remember my own name, all that stuff came back.
Yeah.
And it kicked into gear, and when it counted.
Yeah.
So
if someone was trying out for Dragon's Den to raise money for their startup, what would you tell them?
There's probably better ways to raise money.
Yeah.
I don't think I necessarily did it for the money.
Okay.
Because you got to realize a very low percentage of the ones that even get deals, they don't actually get money.
Mm-hmm.
Things don't work out.
Okay.
'Cause,
something happens.
Yeah. To this date, I have not received a cent.
Okay.
Like I have never received a cent from the Dragon's Den. And you go into that knowing somewhat that's going to happen. But I think depending on the business, I mean, not all businesses are this way. It's a great way to create capital if you've got the right kind of combination of things. but I'm not sure if that's the best route. The ones that I've talked to, that I've actually talked to that have done the show, or actually had a conversation with another company that was about to do the show.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to pass on some of the things that I was given for the show. And they were in the same position. It wasn't really the money they were looking for. It was the collaboration. And for me, it wasn't the money sense. It was like the common sense that I was looking for from the Dragons. Because sometimes, I know this sounds strange, but sometimes money is not the answer.
Yeah. When
it comes to starting a business. Sometimes it's talking to the right people, getting the right thing going on. It's like a business, if you look at businesses that had money thrown at them at the front end, it's not necessarily a guarantee of success.
Yeah.
Right? The businesses that seem to have the best longevity are the ones that actually walked it out, created their own funding, that kind of thing. So it's like, I'm not saying that's in very general terms, but for me, my motivation, again, at the basic root of it, was to counteract my past impulse not to do things, not to take chances, not to put myself out there. And I thought, I'm going to do it differently this time. I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to, so that was kind of at the beginning motivational root of it, for me to do things differently for a change.
Yeah.
And then the money, I don't think was a motivating factor. It was actually the resources are sometimes more important than the money.
Yeah. And you had access to great business minds.
Oh my goodness,
who could really give you valuable feedback.
And for me, it was like, it ended up being a free infomercial. It's like, I realized part of that, and I must admit that part of me was actually looking for that, because there was no other way I could think of to get people to know about my product. Because my product really does sell itself once it's out there and getting used. It's like, it speaks for itself, but it can't say anything unless somebody tries it.
Yes.
So how was I going to get people to try a product they'd never heard of? And that was to have it heard of.
Yeah.
Which is funny how powerful that is, because I'm to this day still getting people making orders on our website, and they put a note in the order saying, I just saw your episode. And so it still has that longevity. I've had people in Europe see the episode on Netflix or whatever and say, yeah, I saw this. I want to try your product. It gives it legitimacy, all that stuff. You know? So there's so many angles to it.
Yeah. That
it's not just that funding angle, which again can be, it's hard. It's a hard line, but for some people, that chasing funding can be a frustrating thing. I know for me, I found it frustrating that there's been days where if I just had enough funding to do this and do this, but really at the end of the day, I really need just to sell my product.
Yeah.
That's my funding.
Yeah. If
I can sell my product, I have enough funds to move forward.
Yes.
Right? So, in other words, my users, the users of my product, are my dragons. Mm-hmm. They're my investors. They're my partners. Right? So every time an order comes in, this is true. Every time an order comes in, there's a special noise my phone makes. It's a bell that goes off. Yeah. Right? And now I've got the whole household, my whole family. Like if we're eating dinner and a ding, we all stop eating and cheer.
Oh, really?
Right? Oh, yeah, we do this cheer. And I've actually, I think in my letter, I have a letter that I send with each order. And we have taken a moment to say a cheer in your honor.
And it's
right?
real.
And it's real.
Yeah.
Like when that order comes in, because again, it's not just about sending that product out. It's about the reason I made the product is about to become functional again.
Mm-hmm.
Like when that person uses it, they're going to get the benefit of it, and they're going to recognize what it's good for, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So I cheer for that person, and I cheer for that moment, and I cheer that that's my funding right there. That's my investor. That end user actually has invested in my business.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my personal view.
Well, Matt, it's been great. Thank you so much. I've had a wonderful time chatting to you in your beard room.
Great.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, it's great.
Yeah, and I'll put maybe a link to Dragon's Den in the description box below, a link to you and your website.
Sure.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
If you have aspirations to grow a fabulous beard, you know
That's right.
who to talk to.
Yeah, seasonal or full-time, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a beard is a beard no matter how small. Don't forget that.
Oh.
Sounds very Dr. Seuss, doesn't it?
It does.